It's Dan Godder still here. If you didn't catch the last video about this is me taking a look at SmiteFire. First video I looked at Artemis, and Nuwa. This video I'm going to be taking a look at Odin, Fafnir, and Hun Batz. So these types of characters, your frontliners and your assassins, are a little different. Hunters typically don't have a whole lot of variance game to game. Mages don't really have that much variance game to game, but the way you want to build your front line can change it wildly depending on what the game circumstances are, what your enemy team comp is, things like that. Especially because you want to be either protecting your back line or you want to be tanking up hits, and that's going to change from game to game. So let's just go into this. The first one's going to be Hun Batz. Here, really not a lot of builds that people are doing a whole lot. That's what's the newest one. Nothing since June. That's interesting. So there's really nothing on Hun Batz since June. So this is probably going to be somewhat outdated, so I'll give it some slack. So his build order is... This is the most recent one, and it's Assassin's Blessing, Brawlers. Ooh, that's not good. Start of Season 7. This guy is recommending... Trent. I suppose... Ooh, this is pretty rough. Rough start. So he says go Brawlers, but he also in both of these he doesn't explain like why, which is bad. Brawlers first, then Warrior Tabai, then Eremite, then Transcendence, then Heartseeker, sell off Boots, question mark? No, sell off Blessing to get Magi's Cloak, and then Bloodforge. Ew. So, especially now, so I think this was after his nerf, putting his ultimate at 120 seconds. It's going down from 110 down to 90, which is actually shorter than it used to be for a while. You still want cooldown on Hun Batz even after his buff. You're still gonna want it. This build only has 20%, and the Transcendence is gonna take forever. So either your power spike is going to take forever to come up if you get Transcendence early on a jungler, or you're just never going to get the thing to stack fully because you're going to be team fighting by this point. So Transcendence, overall, a fairly ugly item, especially if you're getting it for Warrior Tabai. If you're a character that can stay in lane, like a mid or an ADC, Transcendence first does make a lot of sense. You don't need the boots that much. Jungler needs the speed at all times. So both of these builds are pretty grim. So let's see. My recommendation was deleted. That's not good. That's not what I wanted. I thought I had it here. Okay. So what you wanted, it doesn't even list how to start him. So you want to start off with tier 1 and then Healing Potion, Multi-Potion. Your first item is going to be Warrior Tabai. I would be willing to listen to like a Talaria Boots instead if you want more mobility, a little more map sustain because you're going to have the MP5. That's fine. First item on him, though, is going to be Jotun's Wrath. 20% CDR, some mana, some physical power, some pen. This is everything that Hun Batz wants in a single item. Second item is going to be kind of expensive, but it's Erendite. Erendite's very strong right now. I think this probably could stand to get nerfed so this has a lot of synergy with the ultimate. You've already set everything up with your ult. Then you can just go to a revealed target. You are moving much faster once you chase them down, and you can bop them for a hell of a lot of damage on top of an auto. Speaking of on top of an auto, next item afterwards, Hyper's Lament. So the nice thing with this is that this core here gives you 40% CDR. Bam, you're at the cap. Hydra's Lament also fixes your mana because it gives you mana per missing, more MP5 for missing mana, and your abilities will empower your basics. So Hydra's Lament, very good, especially if you learn how to start weaving it in. Next item off of the list, I would recommend Brawler's Beatstick. Brawler's Beatstick is a little bit of a situational item, but because it gives you the physical pen, a lot of physical pen, and physical power, I think this is good enough to be an evergreen item. This is an item that you generally always want. You're always going to have some sort of healing, especially if you go in on a hunter. So Brawler's Beatstick is always going to have value. Never a bad pickup on him. Now moving on towards the build, this is when it really starts to get situational. This is going to be like, I don't know what your game state looks like, so every build is going to be a little bit different. But Heartseeker is still incredibly good. Physical pen, you're going to get a lot of physical power, and just the shredding off of it with the passive. So Heartseeker is still a really powerful item in this meta. 10% physical pen is going to be a nice change, nice addition for you. Final item, just kind of like without really going into specifics on your matchup, Titan's Bane. Titan's Bane, that way you have even more physical penetration. You're cutting through more of that. You're a glass cannon with this build, yes, but you're going to have 300 power. You're going to be doing a lot of damage. You're going to be having you're going to have a lot of flat pen. You're going to have a lot of percent pen. You can cut through enemies pretty quickly with this. Now, situationally, in cases where, you're always going to have different matchups. Other items I would look at, Void Shield is actually a pretty good item on Hun Batz, especially if your solo laner doesn't have this. This will allow your hunter to do more damage to opponents you're targeting as well, while being more resistant to damage from said hunter. This is a pretty good hybrid item, especially if you're looking to be a little more supporty. Hun Batz can flex into more of a facilitator role. He's not a support. He's not like, you can't run him support. He's not meant to be tanky, but you can run a splash of defense into Hun Batz and get a lot out of it, just to make sure you get the utility off with the ultimate. Speaking of, where is it? This is probably not. No, you can't do it that way. Can't go this way. To the sledge. The sledge is also a really good pickup. I would personally be running this evergreen on him just because I tend to like more tanky defensive play. Just how I am as a player. The sledge gives you a lot of magical and physical protections. It gives you respectable power and a lot of health as well. There's really not a lot the sledge doesn't give you that you want if you're going to be in the middle of the fight. As far as other items, as far as a magic hybrid item, Runic Shield is probably your best bet for Hun Batz. And then as far as other niche scenarios, Soul Eater might be something you want to pick up. It does work well with Hun Batz's kit because he does so much of his damage off his abilities. Gives him a lot of items he wants. This might be something you replace Hydra's Lament with if you're going more for abilities. But you might want to get that before you get before you get Erendite. And as a last consideration, anything that comes to mind. I had this before and I lost it because I'm dumb. Oh, okay, there we go. I would say the last item to consider, Mantle of Discord. Now, there's a lot of other items that are good on Hun Batz, don't get me wrong. But this would be a good example of a loadout, just as kind of a one-stop shop. Again, if you need to go like, oh, well, they've got a lot of CC. I need something that's going to give me CC immunity. I can just grab Magi's Cloak instead. And I can click. If you learn that Mantle of Discord, Magi's Cloak, Hide of the Urchin, and Spirit Robe all come off of this cloak tree, just having one of them in there puts all of them in there. And as far as relics are a little more interesting on characters like Hun Batz. You want to have, I would say your general purpose is going to be Blink Purification. But there might be other scenarios where you want Aegis, or you could want Shell. Shell does have a lot of utility, especially the upgraded version of Shell. Or you might want something like a Sundering Spear. You might want to consider something like that. Belt of Frenzy, Horrific Emblem, all of those are items you want to consider. As far as what I would put on this page, it's probably going to be Shell. Multiple shells can make it a lot more difficult for someone with a lot of physical in hand to punch through. So that's where I would go with that. So this is what my screen would look like for Hun Batz. So next is Odin. Oh. Odin's a character I've played way too much of. Let's see what they've got for him. This is out of 7/7 with a 7/8 bonus balance. A little outdated, but not too much. Okay, that's fine. He has Warrior's Blessing Chalice and Multipots. At this point, you might as well get the fifth one. Who cares? Main build. No, Gladiator Shield is shit. Gladiator Shield is poo-poo. There is no reason to build this item. Odin doesn't like it. No one likes it. It's bad. It's really bad. Stone of Gaia. Okay. The Sledge. I like where this is going. I would have moved these two items forward on the build. Genji's Guard, Spirit Robe, Elixir Speed, and Seeker. To the Heart Seeker. You're not super tanky with this setup. You don't have a lot of defense. I think Gladiator Shield sucks. But I don't know if Heartseeker is not terrible on Odin, but I wouldn't say like get it every game or anything silly like that. Magic counter build. He thinks that Gladiator Shield and Genji's Guards are replacements for each other, and that's adorable. Physical anti-heal. He puts another 30 items. He actually puts, 19 items in there as situationals. You're not going to have space for situational. So, but yeah, I mean, there might be times where you want a Talisman of Energy, or you might want a Bulwark of Hope, or you might want a Relic Dagger. Yeah, he's not wrong. This is shit. Don't alternate between Gungnir's Might and Raven Shout. You can go either. Like, I wouldn't hate the option to go either, but pick one and stick with it. You want one of them to be impactful. Never do this. Anyone who's ever looked at a guide, don't be like this. Don't do this. Overall, this is like when you have so many of these items here, they lose purpose. You just tell them try everything. There's no point. Now the thing is, with playing a warrior, with playing a warrior frontline, your job a lot of times is going to be to zone out the biggest threat on the other team, so they can't kill your team. You're going to want to have items that are going to do that, and it's going to change from game to game. So you're going to have more flex in it. It's really hard to get a single build to say, this is what you should do. And I'll acknowledge that. But this is, I think, way too many items to be useful to a new player. This is just like, here is 1, 2, 3, 4 builds. And here is another shitload of items to replace all of that. No good. So far these are not good. I have not liked anything that I've seen off of SmiteFire. Some of it's been like better than nothing, but not truly helpful. And they could do better. So I have it as Warrior's Blessing, Chalice of Healing, and Multipots. I say get 5, like, fuck it. What's the worst that happens? You can fight a little bit longer, okay? Warrior Tabi or Breastplate of Valor's either one first and they have the other one second. I would swap these two, the Genji's Guard and Breastplate, if you have a situation where you are dealing with a magical character. Both of these will give you MP5 to sustain. Both of these will give you the protection you need early on. And you're actually going to get a lot of CDR this way. You're going to max out your CDR 5th item in. The Sledge is just super powerful right now in this meta. Odin makes just as good of a use of it as anybody. Stone of Gaia, again, very good right now. I like these two items. Stone of Gaia, you can take or leave. But these four are your core, in my opinion. And then if you've gone Stone of Gaia and you've gone Sludge, you don't have that many prots. So Mantle of Discord is there to help balance that. Also, so far that build has been really cheap. And if you have to go for a final item, you are a little bit lighter on magical prots than physical. I would go Pestilence last, but you can also look at something like a Void Shield, where you're going to be the guy that's dumping onto everybody else, and you can kill them a little bit more easily with the Void Shield. Or a Runic Shield, something like that. Spectral Armor, very good against crits. I don't think that guy mentioned it. Mystical Mail, especially if you're ahead, is very potent. And Pridwen is also very good. If they're trapped in the cage with you, you're going to hit them for like, what? 600. You're going to have a 600 HP shield on top of your Raven Shout. And then you're going to hit them with another with a burst of damage for 300. Pridwen can do a lot. Very worth it. So, as far as your relics, teleport, soul layers will want teleport in most situations. If you don't get it, get Talaria boots instead of Warrior Tabard. Blink rune. So Blink Cage is your core combo as Odin. The Lepus to Telegraphed. Belt of Frenzy is another item that you can look at, especially if your support doesn't get it. Shield of Thorns is also another option if you just want to survive in the fight longer. So this is what I would look at if you're building Odin. With this top four here is your core, and then you're going to have 3 more items that are flex depending on your situation. You know, are you dealing with anti-healers? Do you have strong physical? Do you have to deal with a strong physical threat? Do you need to deal with someone who's got a lot of crits? Do you have double crits on the other team? All of that's going to matter. So there's a lot of questions that have to be answered when you're playing Odin, and that's one of the difficulties of playing solo lane, is that there is so much. So the last character on the list is Fafnir. Reba's own very own Fafnir guide. Let's check this out because this one's only a week old. Core items. Guardians, Focus, Gauntlet of Thebes. Okay. Hitting your stuns, question mark, Stone of Binding. Yeah, not a bad item for him. Also, this works off of the disarm. So everything works off of it. Enemy is physical. I mean, you're always going to have... Oh, what? Yes, thank you for telling us what items do. Enemy is magical. No Oni Hunter's Garb. I don't even know if I listed it right now. Still a good item. Anti-heal. Team has attack speed. Some of this doesn't even make sense, and they list too many possibilities that I don't think this is particularly helpful, but it kind of lists some items. What if the other person's, that other build, does any better? I don't think it does, given the votes. Okay, so he says Guardian's Blessing Shoes and leave 100 gold pocketed for no reason because you're going to get 2 and 2. That's stupid. Hybrid build. I don't know why you'd ever really want to go true hybrid. Sell Stone of Binding for Hide of the Urchin. No. Then sell shoes for a Relic Dagger. Sometimes. Relic Dagger is sometimes an item. I don't think I list it, but it's also an option. Stone of Binding. You want to get that before Thebes. If you're going to do that because you want to go aggressive. Shogun's Kasari is very good on Fafnir. Mystical Mail. Anti-physical build. Anti-magical build for AA-based teammates. Talisman of Energy's overkill, dude. Anti-heal options. Yeah, you just listed every anti-heal item. Utility and mobility. More damn. At this point, you've almost listed every item in the game. It's useless at this point. It needs to be small enough to be useful. Okay, so mine, hopefully I have it saved. I'm going to be very sad if I don't. So, Guardian's Blessing, shoes, 4 healing pots, Hand of the Gods. Hand of the Gods, either Alpha Harpies or use it early, use it within the first wave before the wait, before you start clearing out. There you go. Done. Traveler's Boots. You want the extra movement speed, playing support, plus the MP5 is very helpful because you're going to be on a bit of a short MP. You're going to be in a bit of a MP deficit for a lot of the early game, especially because you don't have healing pots. Gauntlet of Thebes first. Sovereignty. Shogun's Kasari because it's Fafnir. Otherwise, I would recommend Oni Hunter Garb. Oni Hunter's Garb gives you mitigations, up to 9% mitigation for having it. It's actually quite good. But because it gives you magic and not a lot of HP, there's a lot of overlap with Shogun. So it's, to me, that's a little bit on the binary side. You really can't fit both of them into it. Most builds. Unless it's like 4 magical and like a warrior physical. Then Stone of Gaia. That way you can just live in these fights for frickin' ever. This is you have 50 more protections at a minimum here, by the way. You're at 184, 158 because of it. Plus Fafnir's passive. Mantle of Discord. And if you want to go a little bit hybrid, Voidstone's not a bad option. I don't know if that other guide listed Voidstone as an option anywhere. No, somehow that's incredible. He fails to list it as an option, but that would give you the ability to lower enemy protections, which facilitates your team. There are a lot of picks here that I would recommend. So Pestilence is a very standard one. Contagion's the physical alternative for anti-heal for you. Spectral anti-crit. Magi's Cloak for if you're just dealing with a lot of CC. Remember for Fafnir that you get in Aegis off of the ultimate. Midgardian Mail slows down auto attackers. Stone of Binding's that early option if you're really feeling yourself, because again, you can go aggressive with Fafnir. And if you're landing your hammers, if you're landing your disarms, you can get a lot off of that. There's a lot more that I would say you can put on this build as well, especially if you want to go for a splash of damage, Spear the Magus, but focus on your core build here, and this is what I would look at. A couple of extra items for various situations that don't typically crop up, but might. And then this is your core. You're gonna have some attack speed to help out your team. You're gonna have a couple of auras to help your team out. You're gonna have the aura here to help your team out. And then these are just to help you stay alive in the fight. As far as relics, Magic Shell and Frenzy are probably going to be your bread and butter. Meditation's bad. Don't get it unless you're an Assault. Magic Shell is a much better version, especially when you've upgraded it for the block stacks. And Belt of Frenzy can turn a team fight around. Extra 10% damage, really quite a lot. Fafnir can also make use of Blink. Cursed is also an option if it's a heavy healing composition. So that's what I would look at here. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's other sites again that you think I should take a look at. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you all in the next one.